Hello and welcome to episode 3 of this tutorial. In this episode, what I want to do is to create another component and then test it. So through testing this new component, we are going to explore some of the other features of bUnit. We're going to discover other scenarios for testing the components that we probably have inside of our applications. So again, we are focusing on testing here, on testing with bUnit. We're not focused on developing Blazor applications. If you want to know about Blazor, there are other playlists on the channel that you can watch. So what I am going to do as before, again, I am going to create a new branch. I'm going to call it episode 3. For each episode, I have created separate branches. So go ahead, download the solution files from my GitHub using the link in the description of this video, and navigate to different branches, and then episode 2 commit. Different branches and explore the code. So let me go ahead and create the branch episode 3. And then what I want to do is to create a new component. So the component is going to be called patient toggle. So let me go ahead, create this component. Let me write the code. So the code is going to be very simple. Again, we have an input parameter of type a string and another local private property called isAdmitted. And then the button, a method that is going to toggle that, private property. Then the template is going to be, again, very simple. We're going to render the value inside of the name property and a conditional rendering. And then a button to trigger that toggle admission method. So this is the single and simple component that we're going to work with in this episode. So as before, we are creating this function, and we are triggering that function whenever this button is clicked. So we're going to access this button in our test, and we're going to trigger a click event. And this method is going to toggle the value inside of the isAdmitted property. So by default, it is set to false. Then it will be true, then it will be false again. So what I want to test is that, whether the click on this button correctly updates this property and the value inside of this paragraph tag. So this paragraph tag, again, has a conditional rendering going on for the content. If isAdmitted is true, it's going to render admitted. Otherwise, it's going to render discharged. We had a similar component in episode 1 as well. This is a similar one, right? But here, the difference is that we have created a button that kind of toggles the value inside of this private property. So what I am going to do inside of my test project is that I am going to create a new class. So public class patient toggle test, and it's going to derive from test context. And then what I want to do is I want to move it to its own type. So patient toggle test, and then I am going to write the first test. The first test is going to test whether the component, when loaded, for the first time, renders the correct output or not. So I'm going to verify whether the markup contains this text or not, and this should be toggle, not test. So again, let me add that, by using statement. As before, the code is very simple. We're using render component type to render an instance of patient toggle. We're passing the input parameter for name, right? And we are asserting that initially the component contains this piece of text. So this is yet another technique that you can use when you want to verify the markup. If you've been following the tutorial, we have seen different ways to verify the markup of the component. For example, we've got component.markup matches, which will allow us to kind of verify the exact content of the component. We have other method as well. For example, we can find a specific element and then assert the text content of that element. Right now we are using assert.contains. We are passing component.markup, which contains the whole markup that the component is rendering, and then we are saying that this markup should contain this piece of text. So when we first render this patient toggle component, that a value is set to false, is admitted, is set to false, so we expect to see a status discharged. And this is what I am testing here. A status discharge should be inside of the markup. I can go ahead and run this. So the test passes, right? Now let me go ahead and write the second test. Again, remember, the patient toggle has this button. So we're going to get to this button, we're going to click it, and then we're going to verify whether the markup gets updated or not. So let me go ahead and write the second test. I'm going to call it clicking button toggles status. Again, let's get to the component patient toggle. Let's pass our parameters, and then let's get to the button, and then let's click that button. So the first click should change the value of that Boolean field to true. So we should see a status admitted inside of the markup. When I click it again, it should be changed to false, and in the markup I should see status discharged. The reason is that initially when you create that component, the value inside of that property is false. So when you first click it, it's going to be true and you're going to see a status admitted. When you click it again, you're going to see a status discharged. So again, take a look at the way we are getting to the button based on the using the component variable of type, which is of type render component. We're calling the find method, and then we are passing our CSS selector. Because we have only one button, we can find that button using the name of the tag, or the element, which is button, and then we're going to click it. This allows us to simulate a click on that button, and then we assert that the markup should contain this piece of text. And when click it again, we verify that the markup of the component should now contain this piece of text. So again, a couple of techniques going on, right? Interaction with our click, and then verifying the markup of the component and testing whether it contains a piece of text or not. And of course, this is passing as well. So that's it for this episode. I hope you've enjoyed watching it. If that's the case, please make sure you give it a thumbs up, share it with a friend, and stay tuned for the upcoming videos as well.